What's up, everyone? This is Ricardo Lund, head engineer of Rakoon Sound Studios, and I want to welcome you guys to a new episode of our Tips and Tricks show, where we share information on how we use our equipment and make music. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Elektron Digitone, which is an 8-voice FM synthesizer, and we're going to be taking a look at the functionality and the features to see if it is the right synth for you. So without further ado, let's get right into the review. Alright, so we have the Digitone here, an 8-voice FM synth from Elektron. This is a beautiful machine. We use it a lot here in the studio. It's very flexible, especially for this size. It's quite compact, and the build quality is superb, like in all of the machines made by Elektron. Really good to travel with, really good for live performing. And let me start talking a little bit about the inputs and outputs and other ports that it has in the back. So first of all, we have headphone output, left and right, inputs left and right also, so that you can process external gear through the Digitone's effects. We have a MIDI in, a MIDI out, a MIDI through, and then we have a USB port that can be used to update the firmware of the machine, as well as using it together with Overbridge, which is this magnificent plugin by Elektron, which allows you to see all the parameter changes and all the screens in a more detailed view, as well as it allows you to multi-track your Digitone through USB. Then you have a DC in for power, and that's what's in the back. Following up, it has master volume right here. This level and data knob, which is used to control the levels, the main levels of the individual tracks, as well as browsing some stuff. After that, we have the top knobs, which, as in all Elektron machines, they control different stuff depending on what page of the synth you're on. So you have 8 knobs right there. Then we have the function knob, which is, as in all Elektron machines, is very useful to access the menus highlighted in blue here. It allows you to access those different modes by pressing function. Then we have this MIDI button, which is actually for controlling MIDI tracks, because the Digitone is not only an 8-voice synthesizer, and it is also a MIDI sequencer. So you have 4 separate tracks for MIDI sequencing, and that you can hook up to any other external gear that you have, or even your DAW. So that's the MIDI track. Then we have this note right here, which allows us to change the scale that we're playing in. It allows us to assign chords to the instruments that we're playing in, so it has this chord feature that I'm going to go into in a little bit. And then we have the patterns, where we have 16 patterns that we can have on 8 banks. So we have 8 banks of 16 patterns. Right now I am on bank 1 and pattern 1. So a total of 128 sequences that you can store in the machine per project, which is a lot. Then we have your basic transport controls, which is the play, stop, and record. On top of that, we have some configurations for the pattern, so you can rename the pattern, you can quantize, clear pattern, save to project, reload, import and export. Then we have the main configuration for your system preferences, C6 dump, where you can dump some presets for the machine, MIDI configuration to set up your MIDI ports and how they act, sound, which is the sound library, and project to pick what project you're working on. Then this button allows you to assign the voices of the synth in whatever mode you want. You can have them on as unison, or you can have them spread out throughout the tracks in a way you want, so that you don't get any voice cancellation. You can also assign it to be, an 8-voice synth, so one track has all the 8 voices, and then you would be using it as a big synthesizer, with 8 voices. But in here I'm gonna show the example of how to use it with the 4 tracks. So then we have the tempo page here, which allows you to change the tempo as well as add swing to your pattern. Following up, we have the synth or MIDI pages if you're in the MIDI mode, but we have a trigger page, we have the synth page, the second synth page, we have a filter, amp, and LFO. And in some of these, by pressing twice, you get the second page of that mode you're in. So I'm gonna go into that in more detail in a little bit. Alright, and then we have these yes and no buttons, which allow you basically to select while you're browsing or to get out of menus. And then you have these arrows that are as well for browsing, as well as to bring your instrument an octave up or an octave down. And you have these side arrows, which allow you for browsing and also allow you to actually move the triggers that you set up by milliseconds. So they have multiple functions. And then we have this page, which is pretty much to change the length of your pattern. So you can have it either be 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, or 4 bars. So by pressing function in the page, you can change the length of your pattern, and the length of the pattern can be changed either per track or globally for all tracks. And under that we have the 4 tracks that we have, so we can have different instruments being played per track. So we can have, for example, a bass line here, some harmonies here, some melodies on number 3, and some effects on 4, as an example. So you can actually make like a whole track only with the Digitone. It is completely possible. Now then finally you have the notes, which allow you to play notes, as well as the sequencer when the arm button is lit. You can these buttons here act as the sequencer. Okay, so first of all I'm gonna clear the track sounds by pressing the track and clear. I'm gonna do the same for all of them, so I'm gonna clear tracks and reset it to the basic track sound, the default sound for the tracks, which is pretty much a sine wave. So as you can see, it is a sine wave. And if you want to change sounds for that, if you want to assign a preset to a track, all you do is you double tap on the track you want. So I'm going to double tap on track 1. And let me clear up this thing here. So then you enter the presets, and you can actually go down and filter what kind of a sound you want. So I'm just gonna filter by kick drums. Alright, so that way we press the right arrow again, and now we are only viewing kick drums. So to audition the kick drums, we just press one of the notes. So we have a variety of kicks that are made by this synth. For now I'm gonna go with this crunchy kick, I think. I'm gonna press yes to select it, and I'm just gonna make a 4 on the floor beat to keep us in time while we do the other stuff that we have to do. So again, press the arm button or the record button once and it will light up solid red, and then you're able to enter some notes into your pattern. So if I press play, we get that basic 4 on the floor. And as with all Elektron machines, we have parameter locking, which is pretty useful, so I can add an extra note there. Go to the amp page, bring the volume down on that extra note, and maybe just change some other parameter. So yeah, make that kick kind of like a little different in timbre. Now, if we go on the second page, I'm going to start with this basic sine wave. And I'm going to go through the different pages to show you more or less how you sound design with this thing. So the first page is trigger page, which is going to give you the note that you're going to be sequencing, velocity for that, length of the note, filter trigger and LFO trigger. And also you have conditional triggers with this, and conditional triggers, I'm going to show you some examples in a little bit. It's a really cool tool that most of the Elektron machines nowadays have. So let's make a little bit of a baseline with this track 2. So I'm gonna enter some notes. So as you can see, with this knob I can change the note that we're playing. So I'm gonna assign them all to be on C3, I think, or C2. Let's make it a little deep. So I'm gonna go to C2. Actually enter the notes again so that we can. So maybe you can hear a little bit of a bass tone, kind of like a sub right now. And what I'm gonna do is go on this first synth page, and as you can see, you have with this knob you change the algorithm of how your voices are going to be connected together, your operators. That's what the oscillators are called in FM synth. So how they're interacting with each other, which is that's one of the things that I like about Digitone. Usually FM synths are pretty complicated to program, whereas in the Digitone they made the interface friendly enough for you to mess with the sounds pretty easy. Then we have for our 3 voices that we have C, A, and B. C is the one that you're currently hearing. A and B are gonna be on the next page. So we can set up where they're lying. So I can make voice A be 2, so it's gonna be a little higher than that one, and we're gonna leave voice B inactive for now. We're just gonna leave it like that, and we can give some harmonic for that, some harmonics for the sine wave. We can do a little bit of detuning right here. Can do a little bit of feedback, which also is gonna add a little bit of distortion to that. Alright, and then I'm gonna go to synth page 2 now, and I am gonna, and I forgot the X and Y, which allows you to kind of crossfade between, if you see in the algorithm that I have picked, you have X and Y, so you can kind of like crossfade between the operators that you have playing. So I'm gonna raise a little bit of synth A, so you can hear it. Right, so what I'm gonna do with that is I'm gonna shorten the envelope for that. I'm gonna bring the sustain down. Alright, and I'm gonna make it really short right there. And in here, I'm actually gonna, let's try to see what happens if I bring this as we keep adding this, it's gonna keep adding harmonics to our. So if I open it a little bit, you're gonna hear that a little bit of it. Alright, so I think that's enough. Now I'm gonna go to my filter page, and in here you have an assignable filter, so you can make it either high pass, low pass, or have it off. So I'm gonna make it low pass in this part. Close it a little bit. Give a little bit of envelope to that, and also give a little bit of resonance. Okay, so we have a basic bass sound, I guess. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the notes for each, and that you can either do here in the trigger page. We can assign this to, say, we're gonna make this D sharp, we're gonna make this D, and we're gonna make these G's, these two, and this maybe an F, to see how it sounds. Okay. Not the best bassline, but it's gonna serve us for the example. So we were in the filter page, right? Now we can, if we double tap here, we have this other filter where we don't have an envelope for it, but it's pretty good for if you want to get rid of some of the low frequencies in some parts. In this case, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. And I'm gonna go ahead and use this level knob to bring the volume of that track a little bit down. And now I can show you the conditional triggers and what they're all about. So for example, I'm gonna add another note here, and I'm gonna make that note be, let's make it an A sharp. And I just want to have that note trigger every second time that it cycles through the sequence. So I'm gonna go to the conditional triggers, and you can assign it to either percentages, or you can assign it to values like 2 out of 2. So now the first time it's not gonna go, the second time it's gonna go. Okay. So that gives us a basic bassline to work with. Again, here on the amp page, I can mess up with the amp also. Make it really short or really long. I can add a little bit of drive to that. Yeah, starting to sound kind of cool. And then I'm not gonna add delay or reverb to this track, but you can add delay, reverb, and let's try the chorus, see how that sounds. Oh, pretty cool. So we can add a little bit of chorus right there. And then we have the LFO page, which I'm gonna use for another sound, but pretty much you have 2 LFOs that you can assign to different parameters, you know. It's pretty cool. Alright, so let's go to the next sound. And for this one, I'm gonna create some harmonies right here. So I'm gonna go on this little note page, and right now we are playing, that bass line is in C minor. So we can actually pick a scale, you know. The C minor scale would actually be the Aeolian scale, but actually for this we're just gonna, since we're gonna be playing some chords, I am going to change it into chord modes. And now I'm gonna turn it into chromatic and chord mode is on, and I'm gonna change it to a minor chord. So that's basic sound. And again, we're gonna design it a little bit to make it a little more fun. So first of all, I'm gonna go again on synth 2 and make that one note, twice the height of synth C. I'm gonna bring a little bit of this synth A up. Right. I'm gonna go to filter and filter that down a little bit. Let's open that up. And on the amp page, I am going to create a slow attack and a high release. I'm also gonna give a little bit of drive to this and a little bit of chorus. And we're gonna add a little bit of delay here and some reverb. So you can see how easily it is to come up with some cool sounds in here. Now I'm gonna go to this LFO page and I'm gonna assign a little bit to the synth A level so that we have a little bit of variation in the timbre of this as we play it. So synth A level again, and we press yes. And now if we go to the max, it's gonna be a lot. We don't want that, we just want it to be subtle, so I'm gonna press LFO again and make the speed kind of slow, make it 16. Right, and we can select the wave type also here, or actually how it triggers, so either being free or having a start point at the beginning. And this is kind of like an envelope of this one here. And I'm just gonna set it to free mode. And the speed, I'm gonna bring it down even more. Now we can turn the depth down a little bit. So you can see we can easily get some cool sounds out of it. So now we're gonna input some notes for this live, and what I'm gonna do here is I am going to make this track in particular, track 3, 4 bars long. So I'm gonna press function and page, and you can see that in the screen it says function yes for length per track. So I'm gonna press function and yes, and I'm gonna make the master length, which is knob F, I'm gonna make that 64. So let's make it 64, and then I am going to change the length for this track to 4 bars. I'm gonna press no to exit out of that, and now we have 4 bars. So if we play this, I'm gonna record something live into it. So you have something, and right now at the moment it's not quantized. If I wanted to quantize this, I can press this pattern page and go into quantize, and actually I'm gonna quantize it globally. I'm gonna quantize with knob F. I'm gonna quantize to the maximum value, which is 127, so we'll be quantizing 100%. And see, so that moved things a little bit. It kind of like missed the quantize a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, because we're not hearing the first note. Oh, there we go. We're good. Alright. Can mess with that filter a little bit. And this is where the other filter is gonna be handy, just to leave some space for that bass. So we got something right there, and finally I'm gonna go on track 4, and I'm just gonna enter a little melody using the arpeggiator function. So for now we're gonna keep the basic sound, and then we're gonna alter it. So if I press function in the synth 1 page, we have the ARP menu. So right now it's off. I'm gonna turn it to up, to down, speed 16. Yeah, and we have change the range so we can go an octave high. So for now we're gonna keep it in 1. And then the length of the note, so just gonna keep it kind of short for now. So now that we have the arpeggiator enabled, we can enter some notes for that. So let's see what works. So again, to play that live, what we're gonna do is press the record button and play. And we're gonna wait. So we have that just for this example. So now we're gonna also change the sound for that. So we can either do a preset or something, but let's go ahead and try to design something ourselves. So yeah, if I double tap, I'm gonna get the menu for presets, but for now we're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna go to synth 1. Let's mess with it a little bit. Let's give it a little bit of that. And on synth B, we're gonna use synth B now. We're gonna change the, see how they start sounding. Again, we can add some drive to that. I'm also gonna bring the volume, the general volume of this down. And bring and give a little bit of delay on this. The chorus. And let's assign some crazy LFO to this to see what it does. So first I'm gonna do a little bit of see? This speed slower. Huh. Let's change it. Let's add a little bit of level B. Okay. Have a little basic pattern. It's good enough for this example. And now what I'm gonna do is something really cool that I'm gonna show you, because we're gonna assign some snares to this. We have now a kick drum, but we're actually gonna add some snares to this. So the way to do that, you know, we have utilized all our 4 tracks, but we can still add some more sounds to it, believe it or not, just because of the parameter locking that the Elektron machines have to offer. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we can add a snare to this. And how are we gonna do it if we run out of tracks? Well, the way to do it is to actually go on your settings here and go to sounds, and we're gonna go on sound manager, and we're gonna filter by snare. So we're gonna pick a few snares here. So I'm gonna pick that one. We're gonna pick that one. So we have 2 snares selected. You can see in the screen that there's a little check mark there. And then we're gonna press the right arrow, and we're gonna press copy to, yes. And you get all these different menus. In this case, we're gonna copy it to the sound pool. So copy to sound pool, and it says 2 sounds copied. And now, this is the kick drum track. So if we select one of the kicks here and press this get out of everything and press this level knob here, now you can see we have a few of snares and other sounds that I have loaded into the sound pool. Sound pool is where you keep the different sounds for your project, so you can swap them out. So I'm gonna make this one the snare, and this one I'm gonna make it a snare as well. So now, I'm gonna make a little bit of a broken beat here. Let's change that snare for something else. So I guess that makes sense now to you guys. We can have in the sound pool different sounds loaded, and then we can go to any of the tracks and change any of these triggers for any of the other sounds that we have in the sound pool. So that's pretty useful. So it allows you to create patterns that have multiple sounds in one sequence. You can also achieve that by doing the parameter locking. And this is parameter locking, except that you're parameter locking presets in this case. So as you can see, it is a pretty powerful machine. In this video we have barely scratched the surface of what you can do with it, but I have showed you some of the main components of the machine and some of the possibilities of what you can do with it. And pretty much I wanted to make a quick guide to get you guys started with this. Thank you guys for watching this review on the Elektron Digitone. We hope you found it useful. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're located in the Miami area, please don't hesitate to contact us if you need help with production, DJing, recording, or mixing. I'm leaving the link down below for you to contact us. This is Ricardo Lund. I'll see you next time.